All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for joining today. Um, Talking about student employment today. I'm Rashawn Giles. I'm the administrative assistant that oversees student employment in Beyond Barnard, and I'll be guiding you through this session. So first, we'll talk about the different types of roles that you can have as a Barnard student, and and where those roles can be found. So Workday, our system for student employment on campus, is a cloud-based system that houses all the needs for student employment, from recruiting to hiring to payment to termination. This is where you can find any on-campus roles on Barnard's campus, and it will be where you can find federal work study off-campus roles as well. We also have a platform that we use in Beyond Barnard called Handshake. You might be familiar with it if you've set up appointments with any of our advisors or peer career advisors, but it also houses off-campus positions like babysitting and internships. So be sure to check out Handshake. A lot of babysitting positions are open right now, so do check that out if you're interested. And then you can also, for sure, find positions through networking, either by touching base directly with faculty and staff, popping in to inquire about what positions they might have open, and then networking by following up after applying. So it's always a good rule of thumb to, if you haven't heard back on an application, to follow up and see how you can connect with that office to see if any additional information is needed, or just to put your name in the hat one more time. So Student Employment 101, we'll start with the student employment life cycle. So the first thing that students will do in order to acquire a job on campus is apply to the job. So looking in Workday, especially for on-campus positions and federal work study positions, looking in Workday to apply, and then being interviewed by a different office. It's definitely important to put your best foot forward in the interview process, so that employers can, see your best self in the interview process. Then from there, students are hired and hired in Workday. This step of the process is completed by the faculty or staff member that is hiring you, in conjunction with the finance team at Barnard, as well as Beyond Barnard, for approvals. And so there's not much that students have to do in this process, but you do need to be aware that being hired in Workday is a necessary step in the process. And then from there, you'll have onboarding steps triggered. And onboarding is just our way of collecting all the necessary information and documents from you that you need in order to be able to work on campus. And so that includes a W-4, an I-9, WTPA, which is a wage theft prevention act form that tells you how much you're getting paid. All of these forms are necessary to complete, and we'll get more into it later on in the presentation. And then if you're an hourly worker, you'll be entering time. So you'll get a timesheet in Workday, where you'll be able to submit your hours. And then after those hours are submitted, those hours are processed by the payroll team, and you get paid. And that's probably the most critical piece to pay attention to as students, because you're going to be doing that over and over again throughout the semester if you're an hourly worker. If you're receiving payment via stipend, you will get a form just letting you know that you're getting a stipend and how much it'll be, but there's nothing that you need to complete in order to receive that stipend. So be on the lookout for that. And if you are a student receiving a stipend, you can be sure to not enter any hours in your timesheet, because your payment is processed a different way. Yeah, and then at the end of it all, once your job is finished, we terminate students from their positions. That way you can, the system of record remains accurate. You can have multiple jobs on campus. In the Workday worker profile, on the left-hand side, underneath your name, there's going to be a position title that you see when you first log in. That's your primary position. If you have an additional job, you can select the double arrows next to your name to see what those jobs are. And it's important to be careful, especially as you're entering time, to select the appropriate position for time entry. And I sort of mentioned this before, but we have a couple of different pay types. So there's hourly pay, again, entering timesheets to be paid for the hours that you work. We have one-time payment stipends, which are one lump sum that's paid on a specific date that is communicated to Beyond Barnard by your supervisor. There's nothing you need to do to receive that other than actively acting in your position. And then we also have period activity pay, which is a stipend of any given amount paid over a period of time. And so it'll be basically your supervisor will submit information to Beyond Barnard that lets us know how much to pay you and when. And then that's set up and you don't have to do anything other than actively participate in your position. So Workday. We'll get into some basic navigation in a second. We'll talk about inbox actions, your inbox archive and notifications. I'll show you some demos about customizing menus and using the search bar. And then I'll show you how to find help articles and how to open a case. So on the Workday homepage, this is an example of the homepage. We have a few different things. On the top left-hand side, we have the global navigation, where you can view all of your apps. Most critical ones being the career app, and the pay app is also especially important for students. The help app is where you can find different links to help articles that explain different processes. You can preview your inbox actions on the homepage, which is really cool because you can see what's sort of awaiting you. This is where your onboarding paperwork will be. So your I-9 to complete, your W-4, W-2PA, things like that. In the Workday search bar, you can search just about anything that you need. This is how you can get to your timesheet. You just search enter my time. There's another place to view your apps on the right-hand side. And then on the top right, the very far right, circled is your Workday inbox. Again, this is where your onboarding tasks will be, and any archived tasks that you've already completed can be found there as well. And then you'll have Workday notifications, which are important to check because those that is where your tracked progress of cases will end up. So whenever you open a case in Workday, say you need help for anything, once that case is updated by a staff member, you can click on your notifications and see the update in your notifications window. So this is an example of what a typical inbox looks like in Workday. Your tasks will look a little different than mine, but you'll see that I had, on the day that I took the screenshot, I had a few different tasks awaiting my action for my review. And then you can see on the right-hand side all of the different tasks that I had completed recently. Okay, and so now we'll get into the Workday system, and we'll talk about customizing the menu. So if you go over to menu over here, you can edit and drag different apps up to the top. So if I'm a student, I'm probably going to want the time app up at the top. Maybe I want the help app sort of close to the top in case I need help for a situation. Or maybe I want the career app up to the top in case I'm looking for jobs and I want that to be readily accessible to me. So you can customize your menu that way. Click Save. And you can also add different apps if you would like. So using the search bar, I can use the search bar to search for different things like tasks, people, reports, things like that. The most typical thing that a student would be looking for in this Workday search bar would be the task Enter My Time. And that just takes me to my timesheet. I can click into my timesheet then and enter hours. And so the Workday search bar is a very helpful tool. If you have questions about that later, we can get into it. And then two more things. If you go to the Help app, and then select Beyond Barnard Student Employment, you have lots of different help articles for student employment, including an FAQ page for student workers, an enter time article for student workers. So if you're confused about how to enter time, this guides you through that process step by step, and a few other things as well. So feel free to browse that. If you're having trouble with Workday, the best way to get help is to create a case. So I can type create case in the Workday search bar and a task comes up. And from here, I can enter all the necessary information. My name will, or whoever's submitting the case, their name will automatically be populated in this field. The case type that you'll select is Beyond Barnard Student Employment. yeah, beyond Barnard student employment. You'll type a title of the case. This is just something similar to a subject line for an email. And then you'll provide as much information as possible to help us find a resolution to whatever problem that you're facing. So that's how you go in and create a case. So searching for a job is a pretty simple thing to do in Workday. And I'll actually navigate back to the Workday system and show you all where that can be found. So if I go to the global navigation menu on the left-hand side, and then go to the career app, and then click on Find Jobs -Student, I can see all of the positions that have currently been posted for students at Barnard. Click on one, for instance. It'll have a job description and other pertinent information. And for students, there will be a big orange apply button here. And so that's where you can directly apply for any positions in Workday. And these screenshots just sort of show exactly what I just mentioned. So go to the career app, find jobs -student, and it shows you all of the positions. And yeah. So applying for a job, it's important to develop a clear resume and targeted cover letter to put your best foot forward for that initial application step. If you need to meet with an advisor to do so, or if you need help with putting these materials together, please do so. We invite you to sign up for appointments on Handshake. Apply early and often. So anytime you see a job that looks like it fits your skill set, like you'd be interested in the work that that department does, go ahead and apply. Yeah, don't be shy about applying to positions. You never know what might work out. You can follow up with a personal note saying, "Hi, my name is such and such, and I'm very interested in working for your department in this role." You can even ask a little bit more about the position, what they're looking for. But it helps to make some sort of introduction when you're submitting applications. And then always send a thank you note after an interview. It goes a long way. It shows a lot of good promise for you as a candidate. So highly recommend that. And then if an on-campus role doesn't work out, consider the Beyond Barnard internship program, which funds students in unpaid internships. And you can also look ahead to paid summer research opportunities or apply to off-campus roles. So again, this is what the screen looks like when a student goes to apply. There's a big orange apply button. And you can submit that application. When you're checking for your applications, you can go to that same career app, and under view, you can view more options and see the option for my applications. So you click on that and a report comes up. I don't have any available items in my report because I don't have any other applications open, but it would show you things like when you applied to the position, what stage you're at in the position, the job requisition number, the department, the hiring manager. So that would be who you'd reach out to if you're sending a personal note, the location, and then the recruiter. So once you have, let's say you're on track to get a role on campus and the supervisor is looking to hire you. First thing you need to do is accept the offer. And in Workday, there will be a place where you get a letter saying, hi, we'd like to offer you this position that you applied for. And then from there, you just hit I agree, and it triggers the hiring process. And then after you've been hired, you'll complete onboarding forms, direct deposit, so submitting your information so that you can receive your deposits directly into your bank account rather than receiving paper check. And then you'll verify your social security number and permanent home address with the registrar. It's very important that every student has a social security number and a permanent home address on file, because otherwise we can't submit payments for you. So check in with either a Beyond Barnard team member, the registrar's office, or look to your worker profile in Workday to see if your information is up to date. International students, you should check in with International Student Services to apply for a social security number if you don't already have one. There's a process for that and forms to sign, but the bottom line is you can work on campus once you've applied for your social security number, but you cannot be paid until that social security number is received by our offices here at Barnard. So please keep that in mind. New hire resources are on the Students Jobs webpage. So it has links to Workday and Handshake, an onboarding checklist that includes all of the information about the forms that I just mentioned, and a payroll schedule. So let's see what that looks like. So here's all the required paperwork. It explains exactly what the different forms are and what they're for. You also have a payroll schedule available to you here and an onboarding checklist. So be sure to check that out. That's just barnard.edu/beyondbarnard/student jobs. And I'll put that in the chat as well. So here's an onboarding checklist. Again, make sure your social security number is updated with the registrar. Make sure your permanent home address is updated with the registrar. That is the official way to go about changing those things and making sure they're up to date. So please do so as soon as possible. Within Workday, you'll get prompted to complete your I-9, which verifies your identity and your ability to work in the United States. You'll complete federal withholding elections. So those are tax elections that determine how much in taxes will be withheld from each of your paychecks. And then state and local withholding elections are for New York City and state taxes. Add payment elections is Workday lingo for direct deposit. So we want everyone to sign up for direct deposit when possible, because it really streamlines the payment process and allows for quicker and quicker payments to all students. So time entry, like I mentioned before, stipend jobs do not require time entry. So if you have a job that's being paid via stipend, do not submit hours in Workday for your position. Every person involved in the time entry process has a deadline. So that means supervisors and students. So student deadlines are the Wednesday the last Wednesday of the pay period, so the last day of the pay period. And then after that, timesheets are locked for a week in order to successfully process payroll. So after the deadline, you won't be able to enter any hours. So it's important to meet those deadlines and keep in line with the payroll schedule as much as possible, because you will enter that locked period the Thursday after that Wednesday deadline. That Thursday is also a deadline for managers, so your supervisor needs to approve your hours on the Thursday after the pay period ends. These all will unlock, and so you'll be able to enter your time at some point. It's just you may have missed the deadline for the very next payday. Entering time for previous periods is possible, but we want you to try to enter your time on time. So be sure that as you're working, you can even go in and enter your time preemptively and edit hours later or anything like that. But we want you to make sure that your hours are entered as you're working them, so that you can be paid in a timely fashion, because it does take time to process retroactive hours. Yeah, we want to make sure you get your money when you're supposed to. Okay, so now how to enter and submit time. So I'm going to go back to Workday. And the task that students will submit is called Enter My Time. But since you're all students and we want to show what that looks like on the student end, I'm going to enter time for a worker. One of our student workers in the Onboarding office. So in order to go enter time into a timesheet, all you have to do is click on the calendar for the time that you would have worked. So let's say Isabella worked from 9 a.m. You can see that Workday automatically populates the field, but you can change that to PM, but I'll leave it at 9 a.m. for right now. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's important to be sure to select the appropriate position for any job that you work on campus. So you can see that Isabella has 2 jobs. So I would have to pull down from the drop-down menu and select the appropriate position for these hours. It's important to do this so that the hours are paid from the correct place, and so that you get paid the correct wage for, because some positions pay different pay rates. And you'll click OK. So now you'll see that a time block has been created. Excuse me. But it's not finalized until you hit review and submit. And after you hit submit, it'll route to your manager for approval. Because I'm a staff member and I have accelerated access in some things that automatically approve these hours. And this is what it looks like when hours are approved. We'll just delete that time. Anytime you delete hours from your timesheet or change anything, you have to hit review and submit again. Otherwise, the hours will not Hey. So terminations and job ending, you might see that you have a terminated worker profile at the end of the semester or academic year. It's nothing to worry about. It just means that your job has ended. And if you're going to be continuing in that role for the next year, your supervisor will need to rehire you. So does anyone have any questions? Feel free to come off mute.
How do you recommend, because I know you said before, like, you have to like meet with like a advisor for like resume and like cover letter, but like I don't know how to like go about like applying to jobs also.
Yeah, so applying for jobs in Workday.
I know like you said before you just have to like submit your resume and stuff, but like how do you know like which ones you're fit for?
Um, oh, I see, I see. So you're talking more about the career exploration side of things, and finding a good fit for you, like among all of the available jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that takes some exploration and curiosity on your end. Um, and I think an advisor would actually be really, really helpful in helping you helping sort of probe you with questions to get you thinking about the types of jobs that you might like to have. So yeah, I would definitely book an appointment with an advisor to see about that.
Okay. Thank you. I just had that question because I'm a sophomore, so last year I just like didn't work like use that system. So this is a different system also for me.
Mhm.
So um yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
No problem. Good luck with it all.